The Bob's Burgers movie is like this delicious burger. It is visually appealing, it is layered, it has many ingredients that make it work, and it is oh so satisfying. Hey everyone, this is David Stark from Watch Your Pass. Today I'm talking about the Bob's Burgers movie, which is coming to theaters on May 27, 2022. So first, I have a confession. I've never seen any of the Bob's Burgers show. I don't know, the animation didn't really appeal to me. And when it came out, I wasn't watching that many animated shows, so I just never checked it out. But you know what? That was my bad. That was my fault. I really should have, because I love this movie. This movie was a lot of fun. It was just a really good animated adventure. My hot take is I definitely think you should watch it. Hey, even if you haven't seen Bob's Burgers, because there's just this really fun animated adventure that has a really great kind of like sarcastic, funny but not over the top humor style, with some really interesting references, like pop culture references, and some surprisingly good music. Like I said, I haven't seen the show before, but I loved it. I was able to follow along and keep track of what was going on. So if you have seen the show, you will probably get way more out of it, and you should definitely watch it. If you haven't seen the show, go check it out anyway. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the film, a few things I liked, a few things I didn't like, and then go into the ending. So as you can imagine, there will be spoilers at the ending portion. I will keep the spoilers to the ending section, so you can just watch the initial review without worrying about anything, and then when I get to the ending section, I'll warn you and you can turn it off then. So in Bob's Burgers, you have the Bob's Burgers store that is run by the Belcher family. It's the Bob and Linda are the parents, and their kids are Louise, Tina, and Gene. Now they are, it seems like a simple premise, right? They're running a burger shop, they're trying to make do. But the movie introduces a few wrinkles to the story. One, Bob and Linda are worried about the store. The bank is kind of forcing their loan payment to be due. And so they have to hope to impress the bank representative and try to get an extension on their loan, or else they're going to lose all their restaurant equipment. And that means they probably are going to lose their restaurant. Each of the kids has their own personal kind of turmoil issue that they're trying to get over with that is explored in the film. And it's nice that everyone has some sort of adversity to overcome. And there are two kind of main storylines that intertwine as this film progresses. So there's definitely plenty to watch. There's definitely plenty going on, but it never feels too frantic. The Bob's Burger movie seems to have a very nice pace, so it never feels overwhelming. It just is fun. I love that aspect about it. So things I liked about this movie. The first is the humor. Like I said, it's really funny. It's not like in your face, laugh out loud funny, kind of like Family Guy. And it doesn't have like super crazy scenarios like in The Simpsons, but it is just kind of quietly funny. There's some really sharp lines. There's some really funny kind of comments. There's some really funny reactions to things, and there is some ridiculous, especially some of the other characters. The owner of both the wharf, where a significant portion of this takes place, and the building that Bob's Burgers is in, is a Mr. Fish Odor, and he is very funny in his quirks. Like, he is just a very odd character. He's vocal about his quirks, and so he provides some interesting commentary, him and his family, who are all involved in this movie as well. So altogether, it is a very entertaining movie. Now, the second thing I loved, and I didn't expect this, again, because I didn't watch the show, so this is probably my bad again, there's a ton of references in the film, like references to pop culture things, so like pop culture songs, TV shows, things like that definitely brought a chuckle to my face. Like, sometimes they'll say like a line of a song that you'll recognize in the dialogue. Sometimes they'll like reference, like I said, TV shows or songs or other pop culture references. So it's really fun when it pops up, because it definitely brings a smile to your face and kind of keeps you engaged. It kind of keeps you listening to make sure that you hear everything that's going on, because you don't want to miss those references, because they are really fun. And the last thing I really liked, again, I didn't expect this, is the music. There are some kind of musical songs that the cast in this show sing about various things that are happening in the movie that are really funny. They're really well done. They're well written too. Like, it's not kind of a throwaway song. Like, they have some good writing, they have some good rhymes, and some good kind of like layers to the songs. They were surprisingly fun and surprisingly catchy. And so when they pop up, again, something that brings a smile to your face, something that makes you kind of just sit back and enjoy. And the last thing I liked, and this is again on me, because I never really liked the art style of Bob's Burgers, but again, I didn't watch it. The animation is really good. It's kind of a nice mix of, computer generated for some of the environments. There are definitely some 3D aspects to it, but not like in your face 3D. It's just like 3D that's used to kind of move around the hand-drawn animated world. But then the entire show seems to be hand animated. I'm sure that they use some tricks to make it look hand animated, but it feels like a hand animated show. It's smoother than I think what a hand animated show would be, but it has that feel. It has that look that makes it feel like a kind of an older style animated film, but it's beautiful. It's really well done. There's some really nice scenes in it. There's some really kind of complex areas that they go to. So again, the animation is another thing that's kind of quietly great about this movie. It feels like everything that I liked about this movie is because it's kind of like quietly perfect. So things I didn't love about this movie, not much. And again, like I haven't seen the show, so maybe there are aspects of the show that didn't make it in here. Maybe there are characters that you really wanted to see that aren't in the movie. I don't know. But for me, as a newbie going in and just watching this, I really liked it. There really wasn't anything I didn't like about it. I guess maybe it's kind of slow at times, but like I said before, I like that aspect. I like how it was kind of like quietly confident in what it was doing and the story it was telling. So I'm going to tell you about the ending. And as you can imagine, there will be spoilers in this. So if you don't want to know what happens in the film, if you want to go experience it for yourself, and you might want to, there's several kind of, there's an overall mystery and there's some twists and turns throughout. Then turn this off now. But so if you want to know about the film, you want to see what happens, maybe you've already seen it, you want to recap, let's keep going. So in Bob's Burgers, you have, like I said, two main crises. You've got the kind of the store crisis where Bob and Linda are trying to figure out how to make their loan payment because their loan payment is due. And if they don't make this loan payment, they're going to lose their restaurant equipment and they're going to lose the restaurant. And also their home is above it. So they will kind of lose everything. And the kids, each of them has an individual kind of crisis that they are working through. All of them are kind of related to school. So you can kind of, they're all kind of one main storyline. Tina is working through a crush that she has with this guy, Jimmy Jr., and she is trying to kind of get the courage to ask him to be her summer boyfriend. But something always comes up. She never really gets that courage. Louise is getting made fun of because she wears this rabbit hat. And like, I guess she's worn it since preschool and the kids are making fun of her because it looks like a baby hat. I thought it looked pretty great, but you know what? She doesn't like it, but she also loves this hat. Like she's been wearing it forever. She kind of doesn't ever want to take it off. So that she's trying to come up with ways to show that she's not a baby. A lot of her kind of storyline is, I want to prove that I'm not a baby. Gene is really trying to kind of promote his rock band, his band that he has. And part of it is this really weird, horrible instrument that he made involving like a napkin dispenser and some spoons. Part of it is he wants to kind of play at the wharf because the wharf is having I think it was 25th anniversary like reopening. So they're having events for the 25th anniversary. They're having kind of shows and he wants to be someone at that show. So those are the main kids problems and then the adult problems. And then the film just throws some new wrinkles into the equation. So first, Bob and Linda don't get their loan payment. They make a very special, delicious looking burger. They bring it to the loan officer and the loan officer just denies it. And he also doesn't eat meat. So it's not a great situation for them. Then a giant sinkhole opens up in front of their store because of a busted water main. And that sinkhole means that no one can get to their store. So they're like, oh, this is not good at all. So they try to come up with ways around it, but nothing happens. And they're worried now because they're not going to make money to pay the loan officer, and they're also not going to make money to pay the rent. Now, one thing, you know, like if someone can't get into your store, I bet the landlord would probably be obligated to not collect rent because that seems like an issue that maybe is with his property. It kind of collapsed right in front of his storefront. I don't know where the property lines are. Maybe that's the city's problem, so he wouldn't have to. But in any event, they are worried about all these financial issues. Now, on the flip side, Louise is trying to show like, hey, I am brave. So one of the things that she comes up with is, I'm going to go into this sinkhole. Like, I'm going to film myself going into the sinkhole, like show how brave I am. Things go horribly for her. She falls into the sinkhole. She's fine, but it's a little bit embarrassing. And while she's down there and she's trying to climb up, she like pulls on this rib section looking thing and a skeleton pops out. So she finds a dead body. So now on top of them having this sinkhole that they were hoping to get filled, there's a dead body in there. So now it's a criminal investigation, and that means it's going to take longer to fill the sinkhole. Bob and Linda are not happy. Although Linda is constantly optimistic. She is trying to make the best of the situation. Bob is dealing with it very, very stressfully. So we find out later that the skeleton was from a carny who worked at the wharf named Cotton Candy Dan. And he had gotten in an argument with the owner of the wharf, Mr. Fishoder, who also is the owner of the Bob's Burger store. And so he is instantly one of the first suspects. He gets arrested and kind of charged with the crime. And so this, again, makes a new problem because Bob and Linda can't get in contact with him. They can't get in contact with Mr. Fisher to see if they can not pay their rent this month and then use that money to pay the loan officer. So they are in this conundrum where they're not able to sell any burgers and they can't like try to skip their rent. And so they are just barreling towards losing the restaurant. Louise overhears this conversation, and so she comes up with this idea with the help of the other kids that they're going to solve this murder. She doesn't think it was Mr. Fisher because he was very casual about this hole. Like if you think if he had buried a body there, he would be very worried about the hole, but he didn't seem to mind. He didn't seem to care. And she thinks that maybe it's someone else. She's instantly suspecting his brother Felix, who is an odd character, and she thinks maybe he's jealous. So she wants to get the case solved. So Louise, Tina, and Jean go to various lengths to try to get the case solved. They go see some carnies to try to see maybe someone knows something about Cotton Candy Dan. They find something out about it. They go to a police friend, Sergeant Bosco, who is not a detective, and there's a lot of animosity there because he's not on the murder beat, he's on the robbery beat. But he lets slip that there was a cufflink that was found on Cotton Candy Dan's body. It's like a banana cufflink with a graduation hat. So a very distinct cufflink. So they start to kind of piece together some clues. And eventually this leads them to the wharf. And they follow Felix into one of the rides and into a secret hiding spot. And so he gets to the secret hiding spot. They think like, okay, he must be packing up to leave the country. All the kids are there. And then Fish Order comes down. And then Mr. Fish Order, who I think his name is Calvin. So I'm just going to kind of call him Calvin from now. So Calvin Fish Order comes down in the secret hide as well. And he finds out that this is their like secret respite in the wharf. They have like a bar here. They have some games. They have an organ they can play music on. But they are also getting ready to flee to Cuba because Calvin is worried that he's going to get charged. And he has this submarine in this underground bunker. So they are packing up the submarine. It's a Carnival submarine. It's probably not going to make it to Cuba, but hey, you know what? They're going to try. So the kids are in here trying to think like, okay, how do we stop them? They get seen and they're worried, but Calvin and Felix are like, hey, like, how'd you get down here? Did you find our secret base? And then they like proceed to show them the secret base and show them like secret tunnels that they have around the park. It's a fun scene. And then Calvin and Felix's lawyer, who's also their cousin, Grover, shows up. During this time, Louise notices that Grover has a banana cufflink with a graduation hat. Again, a very distinct cufflink. So she thinks, uh-oh, this is not looking good. Grover also would have had access to the gun that was used to kill the carny. And Grover has a bite mark on his arm, and the teeth pattern looks very similar to the teeth on the skeleton. Louise had a very up-close view of the teeth, and also some fell into her mouth, and she kept one as like a treasure from that, and also to show, look, I'm brave. I have a dead person's tooth in my hand. And so she figures, okay, this looks like Grover is the killer. They confront Grover. Grover admits it. He admits that he's the killer. He tells them his master plan. The master plan was he wanted inheritance from the family, but if you're convicted of a felony, you don't get any of the inheritance. So he wanted to frame Calvin Fish Order so that he would be charged with the crime and he would no longer have his inheritance, and then it would maybe go to Grover. I guess. I think that was the master plan. But after he killed Cotton Candy Dan, he like left the body in a pile of dirt thinking like everyone would see it. But the next day, a bulldozer just kind of like pushed all the dirt into the ground, didn't even look to see that there was anything there. And then they covered it up and built a street on it. And actually Grover didn't know where the body ended up because he, just saw that the dirt was gone and he didn't know if it went in the hole or if it went somewhere else. So he actually had no idea where the body was until this water main broke and this sinkhole opened up. So things aren't looking good. Grover is making Calvin and Felix go into the sub to shoot them out into the ocean. He thinks that they're just going to like die in the ocean. But while this is happening, Bob and Linda show up. They also find the secret hiding spot because they were running from carnies due to a separate kind of plot that they had where they made a food cart to sell Bob's Burgers and bring the burgers to the people. It was doing really well. They were discovered. They had to run. And so they ended up in the secret hiding spot as well. So now the whole family's there. Grover has a crossbow. He's holding everyone hostage with a crossbow. And so he's trying to get Felix and Calvin to go into the submarine to shoot them off into the ocean. And that's when, thankfully, Tina, Louise, and Jean had seen the secret passages. So they opened the secret passage to get out of the hideaway and flee. After Grover, dispatches of his cousins, he jumps into another car and tries to capture them as well. And this leads to a ridiculous, fun kind of car chase scene underneath the wharf that eventually ends up on the beach with a very slow pursuit. Eventually, the Bob's Burger family car, the car the Bob's Burger family is in, ends up right in front of the sinkhole. They think that they've outwitted Grover. They haven't. He gets there and pushes their car into the sinkhole. and then starts pushing dirt on top of them to kind of cover up, bury them, cover up the evidence, get everything done. And so they think that they're trapped. They can't get out of the car. The roof is shut because it was damaged during the car chase, and so everyone thinks they're going to die until they remember that the water main was busted and it was repaired, but it was repaired with like a plastic tube. And so they think, you know what? I bet this car might be able to break it. And so they rev the electric motor, I guess, of this little like amusement car and try, and eventually they were able to puncture that pipe. Water spews out. I think in real life it probably would have like filled the hole and they probably would have drowned or just suffocated because they were in a car that didn't have any air holes. But in any event, they were shot up out of the hole. One of their friends comes by and sees them in the car and helps to free them. So they are safe. They are fine. They had an ordeal, but they were okay. However, like I said, Grover launched the submarine with Calvin and Felix into the ocean. So they are worried now. Well, if Calvin Fisher dies, like, who are we going to pay rent to? Again, always worried about the restaurant. Also, they probably wanted to solve the crime as well. So, and Grover's master plan was to destroy the wharf. Like, he wanted to destroy this wharf and build a mega park, like a super large park that had like tons of parking, tons of shops, virtual rides. So you didn't have to have all the like roller coaster infrastructure. It was going to be a super efficient, super futuristic, and also probably terrible amusement park. So he sets a fuse to destroy the park, and then he's also getting rid of all the witnesses to his plot. So that's why he's killing the Bob's Burger family. That's why he gets rid of Felix and Calvin, and he thinks everything's gonna be fine. But unfortunately for him, the Bob's Burger family survives. They hurry over back to the amusement park. They get into the molehill ride, and very slowly, because it's the molehill, it's a very slow ride, get to the fuse. And eventually they are able to grab the fuse, stop it from blowing up the park. Everyone's happy. They also are able to call in the police, tell them where the submarine is. And so Calvin and Felix are rescued. So everything's happy. Everyone's happy. Everything works out. And they are able to tell Sergeant Bosco where Grover is and where Grover's going to be. Grover, the person who killed Cotton Candy Dan. So Sergeant Bosco gets to be the first on the scene. He beats out homicide. He kind of shows that he can do it as well. Everything works out fine. Everything works out great. And on top of this, a grateful Calvin Fishoder says that they don't have to pay their rent. And I think he also gives them the money for their first loan payment. He doesn't give the money for all the loan payments. He doesn't pay for all their equipment, but he gives them the money so that they can make their first loan payment. So better than nothing, not great, but you know what? Bob's Burger survives. And so everything works out. The wharf is safe. The real murderer is captured. The hole eventually gets filled. The water main gets repaired, and Bob's Burgers reopens. So everything works out. Everything comes back. And on the 3 crises, Tina is about to ask out Jimmy Jr., and Jimmy Jr. found like a pendant that she had made, and he recognized that the beret in it was a similar one that she wore. So he brings that back to her. She's touched, and she kisses him, and I think that they are now going to be summer boyfriend and girlfriend. Louise, a lot of this stemmed from the fact that she wouldn't do this. I think it was a death fall, like from a bar in the playground. You kind of sit on top, you fall backwards, and then kind of flip over and land on your feet. They said that she didn't do this initially, and so she finally does it. And when she does that, her hat falls off, and everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, like, are you okay?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And she puts the hat back on and walks on. So she gets over her kind of concerned and gets over the like baby image. Also, she saved the wharf, so she was also good there too as well. And then Gene kind of requests Fishoder to put him at the wharf, and so he finally gets to do his like musical performance at the wharf. No one's there, but hey, you know what? He's up there, he's doing it, and his horrible instrument is part of the show. So everything works out, everyone's happy, and that is Bob's Burgers movie. There is also a light stinger. So during the credits, characters from the film characters from the film are dancing. That's fun to watch. It's kind of an enjoyable little homage to the various characters. And then there's a light stinger at the very end, which involves Tina's fantasies. Tina had some fantasies earlier about Jimmy Jr. And so during the credits, she's on one of her like fantasy horses with Jimmy Jr. and some zombies, because there were some weird aspects of the fantasies that were mixing together. So it's a nice light little stinger at the very end. I don't think you really have to stay to see it. It's not like pivotal, but it was a fun way to end the movie. So that's the Bob's Burgers movie. It comes to theaters on May 27th, 2022. I definitely think you should check it out. I liked it a lot. I liked it a lot more than I expected to. And as someone who's never seen any of the shows, I really loved it. And if you've seen some of the shows, I bet you'll like it even more. So thanks so much for watching. If you like this review, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you.